usually don't jump in when somebody's getting beat down, but this man Jack Cates is gonna help me straighten out the rest of my day. Now I suggest y'all back up and let us go about our business.
Because you got a gun?
No, because I have a gun and I'll pop a cap in your ass.
I don't think you've got the guts to use it.
What's going on, ladies and gents? It's Cyberland coming back to you with another film review. This time we're moving on to the sequel, 48 Hours. So, another 48 Hours. So, with this film, I remember. And I wasn't old enough for this one either. I think I saw this film, I had to be in the 5th grade, or it wasn't too long actually after the first film actually. My cousin was in town and she was like, oh, we're gonna watch this. I'm like, what do you mean we're gonna watch this? And I think she had rented it from Blockbuster. And she's like, don't tell your mom, we're gonna watch this. I was like, okay. And she's like, this is a good movie, you don't like it. It's about this guy. She was saying all this stuff. And I had already seen 40 Hours, so I knew about it. She was like, how did you already see that? And I was like, don't you worry, Don Cheadle, don't you worry about all that, And watched the film, and it was good. It was entertaining. I was surprised by who the Iceman was. I was surprised by more pieces. It was almost like, when they did the first film, it's almost like they knew they were going to do a sequel, or they had stuff written to do a sequel, but it was never confirmed for years. It was almost like if we ever come around to it, it was almost like they had stuff to write about. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just felt like they had stuff that they could write about. Because when, in the first film, when Reggie Hammond mentioned that, this is the type of money that nobody reports stolen. It was like, okay, then where'd it come from? And then, of course, in the second film, it's that money that we had before, we robbed somebody. That was the Iceman. He's still pissed off about it. And that's what really the second film's about. And you see, there's a real correlation, a mixing of the first and second film. And that's one thing I did like about it. I mean, I think when I read about the reviews or about how people felt about it overall, just like, from a standpoint years later, I think a lot of people didn't like 2 as much, or they were disappointed. I thought it was a great follow-up. I would give it, for my rating, I would give it 4.5 out of 5. I wouldn't give it a 5 because I don't think it was the language. I just felt that it almost felt like the film wasn't long enough. I think that's what it was. The film wasn't long enough, and I felt maybe there was too many secondary villains as opposed to main villains. Kind of came off like that. However, the interaction on screen between Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy was again great. It was almost like they picked up where they left off, so that was great. Music, of course, was the same. The story was just as good. I think really the story of 2 was almost better than the first one. The first one was like, trying to stop these guys. The second film almost was like a whodunit, trying to figure out who's behind the curtain kind of situation. And I've always liked, I always like mystery films. I think I always love about mystery films is who did it. Who's the villain behind the curtain? Who's been pulling all the strings? it's always good. I always like when you find that out, and I've always enjoyed that. And I'm hardly ever disappointed when I do watch films that have that. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool, So I felt with another 48 hours that was interesting. It was entertaining. The comedy, I felt, because when I watched both of them now, I felt the comedy for one was better, like the just the jokes and stuff. There were some jokes in the second film I liked just as much, but I felt one was better. Of course, it's the first one. As far as the action was about. I think the action was a little better than one. I think there was more action in it as opposed to the first one. As far as it was still San Francisco, so the setting was the same. And villain-wise, I think they did a good job with who they casted for the villain. Gans is, Gans is the main villain's brother in this one, Cherry Gans. I felt the guy they portrayed as the role, he was great. He was just as menacing and just as scary because he didn't really say much either. However, he was a lot more short-tempered, a lot more abrasive, I would say, with how he felt about what he would say. Whereas Gans from the first one wasn't. Gans was more quiet, whereas Cherry was a lot more vocal. So that was interesting. And as far as everything leading up to who was the Iceman and who was the main villain and what was the whole point of the story and stuff, I felt that was good. My favorite scene, actually, another 48 hours, and I'll say 48 hours too. Favorite scene of another 48 hours was the part where they really start to put two and two together. Pretty much, it was really two scenes, but just about where Reggie got the money from. I felt that interaction was really good. Just the spinning of the wheels, as Reggie liked to say. And especially with the first one, I would say my favorite scene was probably when they got into a fight. That was just it was just funny. Like, it was literally just laughing hysterically about it because you're fighting because you're not getting the information you want. So I would say if you've seen the first one, watch the second one. It's really in my opinion, I feel it's a conclusion. I feel that they really couldn't make another 48 hours, like a third 48 hours, because it was like, the way they set this up, where do you really go without a beat? And it's way past its time to do a third one anyway, but where would you go with everything that was tied to the first one? It's been pretty much tied and, closed. The book is closed. We're at the finish line. It felt like 48 hours is half the story, another 48 hours is the rest of the story. So it's kind of like, you really don't have to go any further. It's like, case closed, we're done. It felt like a complete story when you watch one, you watch two. However, if you just watch one, you don't really have to watch two per se, but it just gives you a more in-depth of the full story if you watch the second one, which I thought was really cool. So with that being said, I will catch you guys on the next one. Take care.